Consider the lilies, how they grow. They toil not, they spin not. And yet I say unto you that Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. If then clothed the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O ye of little faith? And seek not ye what ye shall eat or what ye shall drink, neither be ye of doubtful mind.
This is our kingdom, a kingdom of righteousness. Praise the Lord. Praise ye the Lord.
Brought into the world seek after, and your but rather seek ye the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell that ye have, and give alms. Provide yourselves bags which wax not old, a treasure that faileth not, where no thief neither moth corrupteth. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. To the kingdom of Israel! I will watch him, yo! I will watch him, yo! I will watch him, yo! I will watch him, yo!
The election. An era rule at best. A group or class considered superior to others. A government by the best men in the state. A governing body composed of the best men in the state. That's the elected. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. That word for peace in the Hebrew is shalom, which goes into safety, soundness, and body. Meaning we're going to truly have rest, welfare, health, prosperity, peace, quiet, tranquility, contentment. So we're going to fully enjoy the planet Earth. We're going to rule and exist within the Lord's creation as we were created to do. I'm ready to rule the world, man. How about you?
Let the golden light of this sunset guide our hearts in peace.
Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell that ye have, and give alms. Provide yourselves bags which wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that faileth not, where no thief approacheth, neither moth corrupteth. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shah Bahashim, Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples for his young brothers. And peace and blessing and salutation to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shah Bahashim, Rakakwadash, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashim Shah. All right, another morning news and prophecy, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, who gives us the inspiration, to do these lessons, to be edifying to the body. All right. Now I want to touch on mainly, shortages, still loom. Okay, that narrative is still out, which is not being pushed heavily, okay, as it once was. Okay, but you still have certain incidents, and certain reportings, all right, about the reserves, running low. Now, however these devils doing it, man, whether the reserves are actually running low, or it's just a narrative, that they're using, to shut things down. All right, because we know these devils have a lot going on. Okay, and what we're seeing happening, with the Strait of Hormuz, okay, well, it's never going back to how it was before February 28th. Okay, and they normalized, this incident, so either way, whether like I say, whether it's shortages, some nations are going through actual shortages, okay, and then they can use the shortages in other nations to say it's a global shortage in order to bring crisis, in order to bring famine, okay, in order to bring hyperinflation, to these economies, to put more of a squeeze on the masses, man, because we know they want a scenario of desperation, so we continue to follow this narrative with the shortages, okay, and see what this devil takes it, man. But we know one thing, that this devil, he is being rushed, all right, to set up this new world order, and even this whole anti-AI extremism, that's a new thing now. Okay, if you're anti-technology, okay, well look, you're considered you're getting ready to be considered an enemy of the state, the enemy of, all right, the government. You're getting ready to be considered a national threat, and there's just another way of him broadening, okay, the category, all right, of dissent, which justifies him getting rid of a lot of the population, man. Okay, so let's get some precepts, and then we got a couple of videos to go into. All right, now let's go here to the book of Jeremiah 28:8. It said, the prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence, man. So we come in the same stead of the prophets of old. Okay, the Lord has raised up all these prophets in the last days, man, because we're in the time of great war, great evil, in the time of pestilence, man. Okay, this is where we at when it comes to prophecy. All right, and this is the last time the Lord, is going to have to judge the earth on the mass scale like this, man. Okay, before He establishes Yahweh Shai, okay, as the King of Kings and Lord of Lords in the earth, and Lord will join heirs to Yahweh Shai, man. And we're going to maintain righteousness in the earth forever. See, we're learning the lesson why it's vital to maintain righteousness in the earth, man. The predicament that the earth is in, the predicament that we in as a nation, goes back to us, all right, not understanding, the severity of maintaining righteousness in the earth, man. Okay. So now the Lord is getting ready to judge this last final time. And within this last captivity, there's a remnant, okay, that has, come to the conclusion that righteousness is the way. There's no other alternative outside of righteousness, man. Okay. You see, we never want to see the earth in this predicament again. We never want our people, okay, the chosen people, to be in this predicament again, man. Okay. So what we're seeing is the Lord's getting ready to wrap up the kingdom of Esau, and it's gonna be with great judgment, man. Okay, Esau, Edom, okay, especially through America, has what become a great kingdom. This is that great kingdom that we're assigned to prophesy against in these latter days, man. Okay, so we're in a time of war, evil, and pestilence, man, and these things are only going to increase. Okay, and it has moments to where things seem like they die down. Okay, but that's the sake of our patience being tested, and the Lord wants people off guard. Okay, the Lord wants people, to become numb, to these surges in prophecy, man. Okay, because He wants the masses to be caught off guard. He wants to be a thief in the night. Okay, but the Lord, for the sake of the hopeful elect, the Lord has set a watchman, man. That's why you go to Ezekiel. Let's get this in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 3. Okay, it's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 3, in verse 17. It says, "Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore, hear the word of my mouth and give them warning from me." Okay, so Yahweh Bashim Al Shai has made us watchmen unto the house of Israel. Okay, He has raised up men, to dedicate, their life to being watchmen, man. Okay, so as we were watching, through filtering the news and current events, through the scriptures, okay, and then we report these things for the sake of informing and edifying the church and showing the church, look, this is where we at. Okay, showing the church what spirit we should be in, man. We should be in the spirit of hastening the day, man. We should become dead to this world by the day, man. Dead to the BS, all right, the vanity of this world by the day, man. Because we're right here, man. A lot of things that most people care about is not going to matter in the time coming, man. Okay? These things are not going to matter. The Lord's going to get ready to take this thing to the next phase, man. You see? So when you go into it, the Lord has raised up watchmen, and it says, therefore, hear the word in my mouth and give them warning from me. So it's the Lord that's bringing war. It's the Lord that's going to make Esau be a madman, sparing none. You see, the Lord is, Esau's a tool on the left-hand side. All right, he's completely controlled by our power, and he's going to be unleashed, okay, in the earth to cause a lot of havoc, man. Okay, in an attempt to try to establish this new world order. Okay, so we want to be in good standards with the power that's in control of everything, man. We're warning our people directly from Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. All right, the power that's in control of everything, man. Everything that this devil is doing, he's not doing it on his own accord. Okay, the Lord is driving this man to do these things, man, to bring about pestilence, civil unrest, famine, okay, shortages. Okay, you see, it's the Lord driving this man to do this, man. So our thing now is to get in good standards with our power before that day comes. Okay, before judgment comes, man. Okay, but brother want to post that, I believe it's Sirach 18 and 20. I believe it's Sirach 18 and 20. And let's get this here. All right, the book of Micah. The book of Zephaniah. You see, because that evil day is approaching, man. That evil time, these bad times are approaching, man. Okay, and the Lord finna shake shit up, man. That's why, we really got to meditate on the times we in, man. You see, we really got to meditate on these things, man. The Lord finna shake the world up, man, and it's gonna be the worst right here in America, man. Okay, the belly of the beast. This is Zephaniah 2 and 1. It says, gather yourselves together. Yeah, gather together. Oh, nation not desire. Who's the nation not desire, man? Israel, man. Okay, look, that nation is not desired. Before the decree bring forth, before the day pass as a chaff, before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you, before the day of the Lord's anger come upon you, man. Okay, so we in a time where the Lord's anger is finna, all right, break forth in the earth, man. Because right now we're telling you the Lord's anger. Okay, but soon, all right, that anger is going to break forth. He's going to allow, the famine of the word to occur. It's going to be Esau cutting the prophets off. It's going to be the Lord finished talking, man. Okay, it's going to be the Lord finished talking, man. Esau going to do what he do. Okay, but ultimately it's the Lord finished talking, man. It's a high power that's far higher than Esau that's operating and running everything, man. Okay, and that's our power. It's our Heavenly Father, Yahweh, through His Son, Yahweh Shai. Okay. Okay. So we should be worried about the Lord's anger, man, not the anger of Esau, not the anger of people. Because hey, you see, they anger don't amount to nothing. If we in good standings with our power, okay. If we in good standings with Yahweh by Shema Shai, the anger of everyone else don't matter. Because these people go, because you know this devil finna push his propaganda against the prophets, man. We're gonna be hated, man. But that's okay. We can be hated by everyone as long as we're in good standings with our power. Okay? That's why, hey, our day-to-day should be about pleasing Yahweh by Shema Shai. Okay? Everyone else on earth can be disappointed at us, man. But as long as our power is pleased with us, we good, man. Because when that anger break forth, the only thing that's gonna matter is who's in good standings with Yahweh by Shema Shai, man. Okay? We're here to please our power. The Israelite men, we are here to please our power, man. You know, we want favor in these times, man. You see, it says before the decree bring forth, because all these things, all right, all these prophecies and these events and these evil times, well, everything is waiting on the decree because everything has an appointed time. Okay, when the Lord is going to what? Send these things forth, because everything is moving on his decree. Esau can't do nothing until the decree of the Lord go forth. Okay, Esau can't get to the next phase until the decree of the Lord allows him, man. You see, because see what the word of a king, there is power. You see, so nothing is moving, as the scriptures say. He do not stir the times. Okay, I think that's second Ezra. You can get that as well, you know. And then we'll get ready to get into some of these videos. I believe it's second Ezra 4. Let me see exactly what it said. Okay. Second Ezra 4 and yeah, let's get second Ezra chapter 4, verses 36 and 37. Bible shop. Okay. It says, before the day of the Lord's anger, all right, come unto you, seek ye the Lord, all you meek of the earth, which have wrought his judgment. Okay. Seek righteousness, seek meekness. It may be ye shall be hid in the day of the Lord's anger, man. And we want to be hid, man. You know, we want to be hid from what the Lord is getting ready to do. All right. In the earth, man. From his anger, man. We want to fall into the Lord's mercy, man. Okay. So let's let's see. I'll go ahead and cue this video up. My brothers get these brothers got precepts come. So let me cue this first video up. All right, because you know they still, you know, talks of these shortages, man. You know, and Esau's not really pushing a heavy campaign. Okay, which you know this you know, this devil. All right, the Lord could be having this devil, you know, being crafty, you know, because he wants everyone to sleep, you know, because he don't want you to prepare in no type of way, you know. You know, he pushed it and it kind of died down with the energy crisis. So, you know, people getting lax in the summertime, people, you know, moving around. Okay. People, you know, are all into, you know, their vacationing and this and that, which, you know, there's nothing wrong with moving around. But see, if your mind is only based in this place continuing, okay, if you think that this is normal times, okay, anything can happen any day, man. The Lord can cause something happen and just change the whole trajectory where you have to start canceling plans and you know and the elites want people scrambling, man. You know, because they put certain news out there just to see the reaction, you know, and they check the pulse of the people, you know, and you best believe they're seeing, you know, people are getting, you know, comfortable, you know, in summertime, they out, events, chilling, you know, like I say, traveling, you know, gas went down a few cents, so you know, like hell yeah, it went up $2 and go down 10 cents, and people act like they have some type of victory, man. And they're just a psychological conditioning that Esau has the masses under, man. Okay, well, this is brother Yashima, tribe of Judah. Ecclesiasticus 18 and 20 said, before judgment, examine thyself, and the day of visitation thou shalt find mercy, man. You know, so before judgment, examine thyself, and in the day of visitation, thou shalt find mercy. Okay. So we should be in the spirit of examining ourselves in these times, man. You know, and we can't act like we already made it. Nah, man. And another thing that the Lord is has this thing drawn out because there's still, you know, work we got to do on the inward man. Okay, there's work still to be done on the inward man within us, man. Okay, we don't want to get content in this thing like we've made it. Nah, man, we still got to do work on the inward man. We want to be as pleasing to our power before Yahweh Shai returns, man. You know, that's the mindset of a good wife, man. How can I be more pleasing to my husband? What else can I do? Okay, what else can I? How can I be more compatible with him and what he got going on? Okay, so every day that Yahweh Shai doesn't come, we should become more compatible with Yahweh Shai, man. In the midst of these prophecies, in the midst of this, there's still work that we have to do on the inward man. You know, because to keep making ourselves more compatible to Yahweh Shai. Because the thing is, for us brothers, is to be as close to Yahweh Shai, okay, at his return, and he's going to finish us off when he changes us, man. You know, so this ain't time to kick our feet up and be content. You know, no, man, this is the time to dig down more, man. You know, Yahweh Shai is expecting more. Yeah, he requires more. You see, Yahweh Shai requires more. He requires, you know, that's why the scriptures say, uh, we must decrease and he must increase, man. You know, so even in the midst of prophecy, man, we want to keep increasing in Yahweh Shai, man. And that's the only, as long as we increase in Yahweh Shai, man, okay, hey, we're gonna be good, man. You know, we're gonna win. You see? And everything else, man, you know, it's a coin toss, man. But in Yahweh Shai, this is a guarantee. Okay? This is the book of Psalms 32 and 6. It said, for this shall everyone, all right, this Psalm 32 and 6, I title one hopeful lick. It says, for this shall everyone that is godly pray unto thee in time when thou mayest be found. Surely in the flood of great waters, they shall not come nigh unto him, man. And Esau, those great waters, okay, that's getting ready to come like a flood, as the scriptures say, man. Okay, and because you know any type of extremist category, any type of anti this category that this nigga got, we in every category. Okay, anti-America, anti-technology, anti-progressivism, whatever this nigga make, anti this, anti that, whatever extremist category that he comes up with, we gonna be in all of them, man. Okay, just know that. You see, Psalms 32 and 7. Thou art my hiding place. Thou shalt preserve me from trouble. Thou shalt compass me about with songs of deliverance, man. You know, so we have a hiding place in Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. You see, we have, I say, our power is in control of everything, you know. So our main objective is to have a good, be in good standards with our power. What's this? Proverbs 12 and 16. You know, and just rolling in the spirit, man. You know, we're gonna get to the new, okay. But hey, rolling in the spirit, man. This is our second of Bob Kashad, yeah, that Proverbs 12 and 16, my brother can post that. The second Ezra 4 and 36, it says, this the brother servants of Yahweh Shah 144. All right. Yeah, this is right. Okay. Second Ezra 4 and 36, it says, and unto these things Uriel the archangel gave them answer and said, even when the number of seed is filled in you, for he have weighed the world in the balance. Okay. So the number of seeds is us coming back reincarnate, you know, because we come back through what the seed, okay, of men, of Israelite men. You know, we come back through the seed. Okay, we keep recycling, you know, the spirits, you know, keep recycling, man. The prophets keep coming back. And see, now we in that last cycle, man. Okay, now we in that last cycle where we're finna be perfected. You see that? We're finna be perfected. The Lord's finna perfect the sons of God. He's finna perfect a remnant, man. Okay, men, women, and children that's allotted for salvation, man. Hey, we endure, we're gonna be perfected, man. Okay, so we're in that last seed. So all these events that's happening, that's the Lord finishing up, okay, refining and perfecting. All right, this the remnant, man. Okay, so it was always a set time for us to come back. That's why, the disciples, they was ready for the kingdom. Then they thought Yahweh Shah was finna come get busy with Rome. Okay, they thought he was coming to get Tiberius, and they thought he was coming to get them niggas to work. You see, why Peter was ready to go, he was on go mode, man. Okay, but the number of seeds wasn't fulfilled in us yet, man. We had to keep cycling back that set number of time, and that time was already set before the foundation of the earth. Okay, but now we're here. Our riders are just that last cycle. Okay, and I fully believe this is it, man. Because all the events, okay, these because there's only a few prophecies left. Okay, and all of them are being fulfilled as we speak. The MOTB is in progress. Civil unrest is in progress. World War III is in progress, man. Everything is in progress, man. Okay, to fulfill these last few prophecies that's going to usher in Yahweh Shah. Okay, this is verse 37. It says, "By measure have he measured the times." It's the brother Yashima tribe of Judah. It says, and by number have he numbered the times, and he doth not move nor stir them until the said measure be fulfilled, man. Okay, so the Lord already had a set measure, okay, when he will begin to fulfill, all right, these prophecies, man. So he didn't stir, all right. He's not going to stir it up until a set time. But what are we seeing now? Everything is being stirred up. See, now he's stirring the time because we're here. Now all the ingredients is in the pot, and he's stirring the pot. Okay, you see, now prophecy is cooking, man. You see, so let's let's go here. I think the brother got it. Yep, this is the brother Mark Ball. Okay, this is brother Mark Ball. Proverbs 12:16. It says Salaki, bro. It might be the wrong one. Hold on. Thought that was Proverbs 12:16. Salaki. Salaki is Proverbs 16:7. Salaki, bro. Proverbs 16:7. Salaki, bro. I set you up for failure. Proverbs 16:7, though, Bible shot. This is on the brother beyond Yashala. All right, 144. Isaiah 32, 33 and 22. It said, "For the Lord is our judge. The Lord Yahweh Bashim Al Shai is our lawgiver. The Lord is our king. He will save us, man. And how is he going to save us, man? Through Yahweh Shai. He's going to send back, all right, Yahweh Shai, okay, with that heavenly host, man, to deliver, all right, that remnant, man. Okay, he's going to send Yahweh Shai with that heavenly host, to deliver a remnant, man. But these things have to play out. These things that we go into, these things have to play out, okay, before the Lord sends Yahweh Shai. So we're just waiting. We're just waiting, patiently waiting, and constantly, working on ourselves, constantly laboring in this thing, conforming to Yahweh Shai. Because the Lord, he wants us completely dead to this world, man. So a lot of things that happen to us, bro, a lot of things that happen to us, brothers, man, it's for us to become more numb to this shit. It's for us to not to care about this shit more and more. Certain things happen because the Lord wants us to care less about this too. He wants us to care less about this world. He wants us to care less about these little situations. And man, he wants us to be completely dead, man. So we can endure. You see, because to endure through the times that we're coming into, man, we're gonna have to be dead to this place on a whole nother level, man. Okay, another level of faith, another level of being dead and numb. All right, to this current world, this current age, man. Okay, it says, "When a man's ways please the Lord, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him, man." Okay, so when a man's ways please the Lord, so as men, what should we be focused on? Pleasing the Lord. Okay, well, we please the Lord, everything else fall into place, man. Okay, the Lord begins to make moves in our favor, man. Because the whole thing is about to get all right. The victory is to the chariot, man. Ain't no victory for us in this world on this side. There's no victory. Okay, the victory is being on that chariot and let Yahweh Shah saying, "Job well done." Okay, as El Apostle Kabar, he said that's the number one thing he want is to get that job well done from Yahweh Shah, man. That's what we want. That we get that job well done from Yahweh Shah, we good forever. This is why we came here, brothers, is to do this, man, and to get that job well done from Yahweh Shah. This is our purpose, man. This it. So let's play a little bit of this, dealing with these shortages. Um, Jay like Jay like, God damn, I thought this was the new, hey, spirit do what it do, man. So let's play this.
The global economy does not need to literally run. One of the most misunderstood aspects of the current oil crisis is that the global economy does not need to literally run out of oil in a catastrophic shock. The world's energy system failed long before inventories approach zero. What matters is not simply the total number of barrels sitting in storage somewhere, but whether enough oil remains available to keep the complex global circulation network functioning smoothly. A useful analogy would be the human body. A person does not die because every drop of blood disappears. The body actually fails when circulation can no longer sustain critical functions. And so the global oil system operates in much the same way. Pipelines, storage terminals, refineries, tanker fleets, and distribution networks all require a minimum level of oil moving through the system at all times. If inventories fall too low, circulation breaks down and the energy system begins to seize up. This is why the recent developments in the Middle East are causing such concern among energy analysts. Since February, global oil inventories have been falling rapidly as markets compensate for the loss of supply associated with the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. According to estimates from UBS, global inventories stood at more than 8 billion barrels at the end of February, prior to the United States and Israel attack on Iran. By the end of April, they had fallen to approximately 7.8 billion barrels, and by the end of May, they were expected to decline further to roughly 7.6 billion barrels. At first glance, these figures might appear reassuring. After all, 7.6 billion barrels sounds like an enormous quantity of oil. The problem, however, is that most of these inventories are not truly available as a buffer against disruption. Analysts at JP Morgan estimate that only about 800 million barrels can be drawn down without placing significant stress on the system.
Because what we have to understand, you hear these, huge amounts of oil reserves, global, oil reserves. Well, you have to understand how much oil is used in a day. Okay, so if you have 100 million barrels of oil that's being used in a day, okay, remember that the world uses 100 million barrels of oil a day. Okay, so in 1 week, that's 700 million barrels of oil. Okay, in 1 week. In 2 weeks, that's 1.4 billion barrels of oil. Okay, this is a daily consumption. So it can sound like, oh, we got 8 billion. No, in 2 weeks, you use 1.4 billion barrels of oil. Okay, a month, 2.8. Okay, so you use close to 3 billion barrels of oil a month. Okay, so you do the math. How many times can 3 go in the 8? What, 2 point something? Okay, so we'll see, man. Like, with these devils, we know, okay, that they, all right, of course, using this narrative, for, to create a crisis and manufacture a crisis, man. Okay, and we're gonna see how they're gonna play it out, man. You see with these numbers, man, it's gonna get to the point, these devils, if they're, because one thing about it, they're setting up this infrastructure. Why they got this narrative running about these energy crises, man. Okay, so when they get this infrastructure to a certain point, okay, get ready for these devils to really push these crises, man. It seemed like certain things are tearing. Like I say, the gas went down 10 cents, and the nigga went back to sleep. Nigga went, you know, nigga back to sleep. Nigga good now. And we alright feeling. Okay, but these things are gonna hit, man. It's gonna catch a lot of people off guard, man. And people don't know how the world works. They don't know how much oil to use a day. They don't know what type of oil to use for what. They don't know the difference between natural gas and crude oil. Then you got different type of crude oils because every crude oil can't make all right diesel, and so there's a lot of things that people don't understand. And then these data centers use a lot of oil, man. They use a lot of energy. Okay, so you get an increase in these, data centers. That's going to cost, because the oil intake is only going to go up. The oil consumption for the global economy to function is only going to go up. The more this devil's transition to technology, the more oil this nigga use, and that's why you have actual skirmishes about this oil, man. Okay, that's why a major part, these nations being in conflict is about these oil, man. Who controls these oil flows, man? Okay, because that's the blood of technocracy. Is this energy, man? Okay, so that's in the play too. So let's play a little bit more of this.
The remaining inventory effectively serves as the oil equivalent of blood volume in the human body. It is absolutely necessary to have that to simply keep the infrastructure operating. Once inventories fall below certain thresholds, transportation bottlenecks emerge, supply chains become increasingly fragile, and fuel shortages begin appearing in unexpected places. The critical level that is identified by several JP Morgan analysts lies around 6.8 billion barrels of global inventory. If the Strait of Hormuz remains closed through the summer, JP Morgan projects inventories could reach that level by September. Product inventories such as gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel could reach critical levels even sooner, potentially during July or August. The implications are, of course, profound. According to one of the most respected firms in the energy sector, Rapid Energy Group, the global economy would begin to seize up if inventories were allowed to fall that low. Transportation infrastructure could struggle to secure fuel supplies regardless of price, by the way. Airlines, trucking fleets, shipping companies, and industrial manufacturers would all face increasing difficulties obtaining the energy necessary to operate. Modern economies depend on continuous access to affordable fuel, and needless to say, disruptions on this scale would ripple through virtually every single sector of our economy. Now, unless the Trump administration escalates the war against Iran again, inventories are unlikely to ever reach these critically low levels. Markets have a mechanism that is designed to prevent that outcome. Before inventories become dangerously depleted, prices rise sharply in order to destroy demand. And no, that is not good news for consumers. Effectively,
that's not good, nigga. She said that like that was some type of great idea. Nigga, the prices increase sharply. Okay, that's gonna be terrible, man. So in the consumer always lose, man. Okay, the consumer pays the price, all right, for these wars and these conflicts. Okay, so the price going up, to destroy demand, nigga, that's gonna be terrible. Okay, so it's bad news either way. You see, whether it's actual shortage or manufactured inflation, hyperinflation, it's gonna be bad either way. Okay, and she said they're like, oh, they got built-in mechanisms. That's terrible, man. Okay, and this war is gonna escalate. Okay, we got a little news on that. Okay.
prices will become so high, so restrictive, that consumers would be unable to afford to travel as well as to purchase necessities. And so that situation in turn would lead to demand destruction. Higher energy prices force consumers and businesses alike to reduce consumption, slowing economic activity and preserving remaining inventories. So, in other words, the market effectively protects the physical energy system by sacrificing economic growth. Rather than allowing inventories to collapse.
No, she said that like it's something, that's sacrificing people's lives. Okay, that's sacrificing lives when people can't, afford necessity. That's sacrificing people's lives, man. What you gonna call civil unrest? you know, she's saying these things so casual, like they're sacrificing lives. Okay, when you put prices, when you make gas unaffordable, which is gonna make food unaffordable, you shut down industries. These companies doesn't have the energy to operate, so you're shutting down these industries, which is crazy job loss, man. No, it's gonna be chaotic, man. She's talking like this is some type of efficient, plan B, man. It's gonna be catastrophic, man. Okay, it's gonna be complete pandemonium when these things happen, man. Okay, so let me see. I don't think she said
to unsustainable levels. Prices will increase until enough demand is removed from the system to stabilize stockpiles. This is where the recession risk emerges. Rapid Energy argues that oil prices could rise to $150 or even $200 per barrel if Hormuz remains closed and inventories continue shrinking. Such prices would represent a dramatic shock to the global economy and would likely lead to a depression. Transportation costs would surge, inflation would accelerate, manufacturing expenses would rise, and consumers would face another major squeeze on their disposable income. The International Energy Agency has already warned that rapidly shrinking inventory buffers could produce future price spikes. Similarly, ExxonMobil CEO Darren Woods recently noted that commercial inventories, strategic reserves, and oil already moving through the system have helped absorb the disruption thus far. However, these stockpiles cannot compensate indefinitely. As inventories continue declining, their ability to cushion supply losses diminishes, and that leaves prices as the primary adjustment mechanism. So the result.
So basically, right now they're saying they're maintaining, the prices through oil reserves, but it's gonna come to a time where they're not gonna be able to do that with the reserves, and they're just gonna have to affect the demand, through the prices. Okay, so that's interesting, man, and that's something that they speculate, months, weeks, fall, next year, whatever. Okay, but we'll see, man. Okay, but we know one thing: they got their narrative still out there, man. And they're gonna use it, at their convenience. Okay, so let's go from there, and let's go here because, in the midst of all this, these devils, okay, are beginning, all right, to speak like a dragon. It's gonna get very draconian, man. Okay, because these elites, they're going full fledged with their new world order. All right, they're gonna keep building these data centers. They don't care. They're gonna use eminent domain. Okay, whatever they got to do. All right, they're gonna, make. They're going to create a new, a new category, okay, of extremism, for being against them. Okay, you can't be, you got anti-Semitic, anti, America. I say anti-technology, anti-this, man. Okay, so they're just going to anti you to death and make all these categories, man. Okay, to demonize, okay, anyone that's against their new world order, man. Okay, so these things are going to increase as well. So let's play a little bit of this video.
Well, here we go again. If you speak out against something the government is doing, you could be labeled a domestic terrorist. The federal government has apparently found a brand new category of domestic threats, not cartel violence, not Wall Street fraud, not the people poisoning our food or bankrupting our country, spying on Americans, dragging us into endless wars. No, people, it is you. If you don't want a massive AI data center, you are the problem. According to a brand new report out of Wired magazine, their investigation, more than 1,000 pages of unpublished reports from DHS, the FBI, and regional fusion centers show that the U.S. law enforcement agencies are now circulating warnings about something they're calling anti-tech violent extremism. That's the phrase, anti-tech violent extremism. And Wired says this term does not appear to in any publicly available DHS or FBI document guides on extremism. It's not there, which means this is new. This is a newly emerging category being built inside their surveillance state in the Trump administration. So if you don't want a giant data center in your backyard because of what it's going to do to the ecology, what it's going to do to the noise pollution, what it's going to do to the energy infrastructure, then you could be labeled a domestic terrorist. Our next guest has written.
Yeah, man. So it's getting to the point to where, you see, if you're not fully on board with everything the devil got going on, he's going to find the category to put you in. All right, to isolate you. All right, for removal. Okay, he's putting all these categories out here because he's getting ready to come. Okay, and that's why he's allowing certain news to go out, certain alternative. Because even with these control oppositions, it's just to gather. Okay, and this control opposition, they be having the inside scoop, because they're directly linked, okay, to the system, man, that's rolling this thing out. So they allow them to, expose parts of the agenda to get credibility, just to herd people to these platforms, okay, so they can be put in these categories, man, of extremists, man. That's what Candace Owens is about, Alex Jones, and certain other alternative news, man. They do this, even with these redacted, man. Because they look too polished for me, man. They be having information. We utilize the information, okay, and we know we already know we're going to be on every extremist group that they come up with. Okay, we already know. You see what we stand in the midst of this, but see, we got a power behind us, man. Okay, but let's fast forward here. This will show you that these devils are accelerating with these data centers, man. Okay, because there's the infrastructure needed. So when they get to a certain point with this infrastructure, man, they're gonna push forth with these crises, and they're gonna be ready to mandate, all right, this technology, man. But right now we're just seeing a mass push for the infrastructure. Okay, and they're already creating, a narrative to demonize anybody that's against this infrastructure, man. By saying that this infrastructure, this AI infrastructure, is part of national security. So if you're against technology, you're against the defense of the country. Okay, that's another thing. They're gonna national defense you to death too, man. National security, you're gonna hear that word a lot. Okay, so let's play this.
At a Tesla robotics factory, I don't know if we can, want to conflate the two, but he pointed out, he said they have us on 12-hour shifts, and we're working as quickly as we can, and we're building as quickly as possible. These data centers are popping up so fast. How quickly are they being built?
It is extremely rapid. And I mean, this map that we're looking at is one of the best sources of information. So using the data off of this map, we're seeing that we're already about 41% through the planned data centers. But we're looking at most of the data centers being built in the next 24 months. So we're going to add 54.7 gigawatts, which is doubling the current amount of data centers by the end of 2027. Just to put it in perspective, a new hyperscaler is going live every 4 days from now until the end of 2027. So yes, they're moving extremely fast.
They're rolling, man. Esau rolling, man. The pressure's on Esau, man, to get this thing built out, man, so he can come on with the next phase of this thing, man. You know, the spirit got this nigga rolling, man. He's weird in his council. People are waking up. People are coming against his AI. The fraud of AI is being revealed, you know, because he wanted AI to be looked at as a god, which some simple people still look at AI as being God, like, okay, not understanding, man, that the AI has limitation, man, okay, because it can do, I say, extraordinary things, okay, the way it's able to compute all this data so fast, you know, it's like a you know, millions of minds, you know, in one, okay, but it's limited because it's nothing but a algorithm, okay, and it operates off, you know, all this computing data and this hardware, the data centers, okay. The data centers is the bloodline, okay, of AI, okay. This this is the source, okay, of AI's magic. You see, so that's why you see this devil is full throttle with these data centers, man. You know, to get to a certain point, to start going to the next phase. Okay, so let's play a little bit more of this.
We're about to double the amount of data centers, even a little bit more than double, because if only 41%, so about 59%, we're about to double that capacity in the next year.
We're doubling the number of these hyperscale data centers. We're actually quadrupling the amount of power that they're using. Right now, we're at, this is my estimate, and so, you know, people can push back if they have better numbers, but we're at 53 gigawatts of operational power, which is around, you know, 30 to 40 million US homes. And we're going to go to 150 additional gigawatts. So we're going to be at a total of 202 gigawatts. This is roughly 40% of the entire power supply in the United States.
Where are we getting this power from?
You know, I don't think anyone's answered that. And I think that the stability of the electric grid will suffer. We're already seeing in some areas here, kind of in data center alley over here, there's a interconnection grid called PGM, which actually is a interstate grid. It handles 13 states. They've had to release emergency regulation so that not to protect people, but to ensure that these data centers can continue to get built, because doing the power studies was taking too long. You know, when you want to hook one of these things up, you have to do of, hey, is the power still going to be reliable? And they do them in batches. Okay, so hey, here's these new demands and new supply on the grid. What's going to happen? So these were taking so long that they gave data centers creative new ways to bundle their own power. One is that they can be completely off the grid, although that's very unlikely. Two is they're actually building power plants directly on site. So this could be things like nuclear or solar or gas plants or even temporary gas turbines, as some companies like X have been making popular. So they're giving them ways to shortcut their power supply in the short term while they build the longer term power infrastructure. But you know, just to say that the last auction that PJM had, they weren't even able to meet the margin for a safe power supply. So there was so much demand there that the grid isn't even able to supply it. So it's unclear to me where the power is going to come from.
Yeah, these small nuclear.
And this is part of Esau being in scrapes, man. You know, he's running into these situations where he's limited with the power he has, the power of these data centers, man. Okay, and then he's bypassing all safety regulation. And see, where is the EPA? No one has asked about the EPA and all this, man. Where the hell is the EPA at? Okay, here it is, that the taxpayer money, right, pays the salary of the EPA. All right, the EPA workers. All right, the branch of government that's supposed to regulate. All right, environment safety, man. Where the hell are they? Okay, so they're just bypassing, you know, everything, man, and just building these things, man. Okay, a lot. Esau winging some of this shit, man. You have to understand, Esau out here winging this shit, man. He building these data centers. All right, he don't got the power figured out. Okay, so what's ultimately gonna have to do, man? He's gonna start getting rid of a lot of people, man. You know, to use this existing power that's already here, man. Okay, we hear about, you know, these data centers use enough power to, you know, power, 50,000 homes, 100,000 homes, 3 million homes. Well, guess what? He finna start making them homes empty. Okay, that's what's gonna get ready to happen, man. Major depopulation is coming because this nigga wants this. He wants these data centers. All right, and he has way more invested in these data centers than in people. Okay, so let's I think jump a little bit. I think it's one more point. Then we'll segue to one more video.
However, it's very, very short-sighted. China has already gone through this boom. They've tried to build their data centers, and now in 2025, in China are sitting completely idle. They don't even have a customer. So how do we expect in America that we're going to fill these data centers when more people in China are using AI and robotics?
So that's interesting. That leads me to my question about this quote unquote AI bubble that we could be about to experience in the United States. You keep hearing rumblings about it, that we are about to see a collapse in the U.S. stock market. We're going to see a big collapse, and the AI bubble is going to be at the heart of it. A lot of overvalued companies burning through revenue, that you're burning through money that they don't have, and it's all fake. So when you look at data centers sitting there vacant, idle, no one's using them, do you think the same thing is about to happen in the US?
I think so. I think that a lot of people who invested in these data centers, besides maybe the biggest players, are going to lose a lot of money. And it's very, very short-sighted why they would build this. I think that there is something happening behind the scenes to encourage people to build this. I know that there's a lot of incompetence and greed in our economy today, but not even they can be this stupid. China has 600 million people there already using AI. They have more people using AI than we have using the internet here in the US. They're also very far ahead on robotics and self-driving cars. That's a norm in China. If they're not using all of their AI compute, they're not even close to. There's just no way we're ever going to reach that. It's never meant to be for consumers. Now, there might be another reason.
Like we've been saying, this AI, because all the data, because a lot of people are using, AI for consumers. People have their small businesses. Okay, people use AI recreational. A lot of students use AI for school. Okay, so you have, all this, recreational, all right, AI, all right, use. Well, they're gonna cut all that out, man, because they need all their computing power to surveil. Okay, they all their computing power that people use for recreational use. Well, that's gonna be cut out, because first they're gonna cut out people. It's gonna be a lot of unaliving. Okay, and then all right, they're gonna stop, all this recreational AI use, man. Okay, and it's gonna be converted back to what it was meant for, which is for the surveillance, man. Okay, so they're building these data centers without the power, to run them all, because they finna get rid of a lot of the people that use the power. Okay, and they finna get rid of a lot of this recreational AI use, man. So these devils are setting it up, man. All right, so they want to have the hard infrastructure already built and set up before they come with, the next phase, which is tribulation, man. Okay, death, famine, mournings, and woe. You see? So play a little more.
But it's not meant for consumers.
So
let's I think that was it on that. So let's segue here, because in the midst of it all right, you still have this war looming in the background, is gonna jump back off, man. All right, so let's just go to a little bit of the latest dealing with that. All right, but this war is gonna escalate in the midst of all this, okay? Because the MOT mandate and the missiles go hand in hand. Him mandating the MOTB, okay? There's some way to stabilize the chaos, that the Lord is gonna allow the devil to cause. Okay. Well, guess what? This this little temporary, okay, peace moment is gonna be met with what? Because when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction, man. Okay, so this war has to escalate. Russia and Ukraine are they're escalating. Russia, is now, setting up to strike in Europe, NATO nations. Okay, so everything is escalating, man. Everything is moving forward, man. There's no prophecy that's idle. Okay, so let's play this.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to the show. It's your host, Danny Haifong. Welcome to June. And to start June, we have Patrick Henningsen here. He is the editor and founder of 21st Century Wire and geopolitical analyst and commentator. Patrick, good to see you again.
Great to be with you, Danny.
Great to be with you. Well, how about we get started here, Patrick? Just when you thought that the Iran war was entering a period of tit for tat and almost no peace, no war, it appeared quite quickly. Just over the past few days, let's say the last 24 hours, there were major reports of U.S. strikes on Iran and then Iran retaliating back. And so I'll just pull up what the Cradle said about this. So the IRGC said today that they targeted a communications tower in Sirte early, that the U.S. forces targeted communication towers in Iran's Hormozgan province yesterday. In response, they struck an airbase from which the attack was launched, claiming that its designated targets were destroyed. And they said that any repeat of this U.S. aggression will be met with a completely different kind of response, one that would be the responsibility of the aggressor and the child-killing U.S. regime. Now, of note, Patrick, with these strikes, we saw Kuwait activate their air defenses just hours ago. And this would be the second time that this occurred, because now we have more evidence that on May 27th, the so-called interception, and the U.S. CENTCOM is saying that everything has been intercepted today as well. But on May 27th, they said the single missile was intercepted in that retaliation strike. But it appears that interception, I'm hearing also several contractors at the U.S. Ali Al Salam base in in Kuwait were also injured, and a $30 million U.S. Reaper drone was destroyed. An MQ-1 drone was also destroyed by Iran. And now we're in a situation where the war could very well restart. There's talks that this expansion of the war against Lebanon, this invasion that Israel is putting together, will and could cause Iran to strike back at Israel too. So, Patrick, what's your reaction to this? It does feel like Israel is right now heavily in the mix of helping to reignite the flame of this conflict. Trump is kind of sitting back.
Because we know Israel, these small hands roll. All right. The least of the flock going to keep drawing them out. They did it one time. They drug America into this conflict. They had this ripple effect. And they're going to keep dragging them back into it, man. Ain't no getting out of this, man. They locked in. Prophecy got all these nations locked in. Small hats. America, Iran, Russia, all right, China. They all, the Lord got them all in a position where they got to fight. They got to fight, man. You see? Because everyone has their own personal interests, and then there's certain combined interests that these nations have that's making these certain alliances, okay, according to the Bible. Okay, this conflict is causing biblical alliances, all right, to come together and fight, man. That's how you know it's the will of the Lord. Okay, like the elites got their agenda, but their agenda, all right, takes the back seat to the agenda of the Lord. Okay, which has caused this war to spiral out of control and usher in Yahushua, man. Okay, and turn America into a desert. Okay, so all these 4,000 data centers that America got, it's gonna get hit. It's gonna be nuked. All this fast forwarding, okay, all this nigga, he's accelerating, and just throwing up these data centers all for nothing, man. Okay, Esau agenda is gonna be completely wiped out as this war escalates, man. So we see, because this whole thing with them trying to negotiate, the negotiation is just America mainly buying time, okay? Because America has to restock with munitions, okay? That's why he just said contractors got hurt in this strike by Iran, because they trying to rebuild shit. They're trying to rebuild radars, rebuild, you know, trying to reposition, missile defense systems, and replenish, missile defense projectiles. Okay, their standoff munitions, for those fighter jets. Okay, so America is just buying time. They're not trying to come up. They're not trying to negotiate no deal. Ain't no deal to be had. Okay, Iran ain't hearing that shit America talking about. And America, they can't comply with Iran because it will make them look extremely super duper weak, weaker than they already look. Okay, so it ain't no negotiation to be had. This is just a tool to buy time. Okay, for America to get built up to a point to go at them again. Okay, because the Strait of Hormuz situation ain't no opening the strait. Okay, or they say open the strait. Iran has control and they not giving control back. Okay, if you're friendly with Iran, you can get some oil. If you buy oil and you pay the toll, okay, because Iran has made billions just off toll money, doing this whole thing. Okay, and if you pay with other currency outside the dollar, you can get you some oil. Okay, but if you friendly with the West and you don't want to, hey, abandon the petrodollar, then nigga, your tanker stay in the scrape. Okay, so that ain't never reversing back to what it was before February 28th. So they can continue on with the narrative of shortages. See, it all ties in together. Okay, but see what's going to happen is it's so much going on. The devil can't contain it. He can't manage it. Okay, prophecy is going to overwhelm this nigga, man. Okay, so let's play a little more of this.
And being very mum with his words, surprisingly so. What's your thoughts on what's going on?
Well, there are two parts to that. The first part you mentioned, the radar station at Syriac Island in the Strait of Hormuz. That looks like the United States is preparing to, that could be a missile defense radar battery, air defense. So that looks like that would be the first steps in the United States preparing a major military incursion. They could just be feeling out and poking to try to see how Iran will react, and maybe just gradually, one by one, degrading what they think are key military installations that Iran has to defend the strait. So that's one thing. Whether the U.S. will go through with that or put boots on the ground or try to occupy an island, one of the islands in there, Gorak Island, or all these various key positions there that one could occupy in order to create a scene, a situation whereby it would create an international incident, and the U.S. could claim that they're taking decisive action, then use that to escalate. We don't know. We don't know what the end result or the end state would be in that. But the U.S. is definitely in the process of interventions, a series of interventions, tactical interventions. That's clear. So this could mean that's a prelude to
And that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a resumption of hostilities, man. They're going to resume those hostilities, man. And the details of the who, the why, the what, well, we just stick to the prophecies, man, because we know, all right, that the war has to get back started. Okay. And we know these devils, they manufacture a lot of things, and they use these wars for their agenda. But according to prophecy, all right, this war is going to work against them. Okay. Matter of fact, what we always get, brothers can get that Revelation 11, 14, and 15. Okay. Because World War One and World War II, worked in their favor, they was able to bring about, these new alliances, all right, these global alliances with certain nations, they was able to bring about, a new currency, after World War II, they was able to get rid of certain monarchs, all right. They was able to bring about, identification, because World War II, that's when they really started to come with, the IDs that we know today, social security cards, I mean, and I think that was even during the Depression, dealing with social security cards, World War II brought about certain IDs, when you look into it. Okay. So these devils were able to benefit and forward their new world order agenda in World War One and Two. And in World War Three, this third world war, they're going to begin to forward certain agendas. Okay. But it's not going to go according to plan. It's going to take a sharp left, man, and work against them, man. Okay. And it's going to work in our favor, man. If a brother can, yeah, okay, come and put verse 15 as well, Bible shop, bro. All right, this is the brother Yashima tribe of Judah, Revelation 12 and 12 said, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. All right, so the devil fully understands that he has a short time because, he has limited resources. Okay, his military is limited. Okay, people are beginning to revolt more and more, call them out against, with this technology. People are becoming anti, AI. You see, when he needs AI to be looked at as a god, you see, so this devil, he has to come on with it. All right, and we see that the Lord got this nigga, all right, in double time. Okay, so let's go. Let's read verse. All right, this is the brother servants of Yahushua, Revelation 11 and 14 and 15 said the second woe was past. There's the second world woe was past. And behold, the third woe coming quickly. And the seven angels sounded, and there was great voices in heaven saying, the kingdoms of this world, okay, are become the kingdoms of our Lord, all right, and his anointed, and they shall reign forever and ever, man. Okay, so this war is going to go completely in our favor, man. Okay, on the front end, the elite's going to be getting particular things done. They're going to be able to crash the economy. They can use this war as an excuse for bringing energy lockdowns. Okay, they can use this war for depopulation agenda. Okay, so they got particular things that they're going to be getting done on the front end. But see, on the back end, it's all going to play in our favor, man. And he's going to be in captivity. You see? So at the end of it, man, all the power and authority in the earth is going to be transferred to Yahushua, man. And may we, be joint heirs, okay, in the midst of all this, man. Okay. So that's the point, Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you few sisters edified once again. Want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rakakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutation, hopefully, shalom.